Champions Cup, Saturday games, there were 6. Some interesting results. Some teams are pretty much done. Some managed to survive. Speaking of surviving, I've only seen 2 of the games in full. I got to bed later than planned last night, so I had to be a bit choosy about what I watched. I ended up watching Connacht and Gloucester, and at the same time I watched Saracens and Munster. All the others I've only seen the highlights. I was kind of expecting that one to be a blowout, which is why I didn't choose to watch it. That one's a hell of a surprise, but I'll get to that in a bit. Kind of as expected, and that one, which I'll start with, didn't really matter. But anyway, Benetton, good on them. They got their first win of their Champions Cup campaign. And to be fair, the lead changed, I believe, 6 times in this game. So in terms of entertainment value on its own, a pretty good watch. I didn't watch it. I just watched the highlights. But yeah, it seems to have been a pretty even game by 2 teams just kind of going at it. There were some good tries. The defense at times was average, but not terrible. Far from the worst this week. It started with Sato getting a try for Benetton. It was they had a maul. I think 5 passed it to Duvanaka, and then Duvanaka back to Sato. So it was a good try, 5-0. They missed the conversion, and then Monty Ioane got to try some really slick hands and kind of poor defending from Lyon. Got Benetton across the line, so it made it 12-0. They were sitting pretty after about a quarter of an hour. But it didn't take long for Lyon to strike back. Liam Gill got a try. That one was from a maul, that's right. And it was 12 points to 7. I wrote a note that I can't quite read. I always complain about my own handwriting. I think it was that they went close, but they didn't get a grounding. And essentially a minute later from the maul, they got a try anyway, so it didn't make a difference. 23 minutes, Rudy Wolf goes through a tackle again, a bit of poor defending, and puts Lyon in front at halftime, 14 points to 12. Second half, Benetton get a penalty, go back in front. Lyon get a penalty, go back in front. Benetton get a penalty, go back in front. So this is how the lead chopped and changed so many times. Eventually, 64 minutes, Lyon get a try. Benetton missed their own line-out ball. And it was Barassi who got the try. It's on 65 minutes. That makes it 22 points to 15. But the final say of the game was for Benetton through Lazzaroni. Tibaldi had a nice little inside pass in the build-up to it, and it was 25-22 at full time. Stats, as I said, pretty even. 50-50 possession. Territory 52-48 in favour of Lyon, so nothing much in that. Run meters 408 to Benetton, 411 to Lyon, so pretty much even, man. Only 3 meters in it. Tackling percentage 81% and 85%. Benetton had to make more, 163, but they still managed to get the job done. So, yep, nice for them to get a win. Their campaign was essentially over once they hit 3 losses, but as I said, good to get a win. There were a fair few fans in the crowd, a few empty seats as well, but decent, not terrible crowd. And, give them something to cheer about, which was nice. Benetton go away to Northampton, and Lyon go away to Leinster in the new year. So tough games on the cards for those guys. The next one, Connacht against Gloucester. I am rather glad I watched this, because what a crazy game. Somehow Connacht managed to get a win, and somehow Gloucester managed to lose it from what seemed like a pretty comfortable position at the end. To be fair, I had the other game going at the same time, so I didn't see as perhaps much as I should have, but I feel like I got a pretty good feeling for the game. I noticed both sides kind of making a fair few phases early, but unable to break through each other's defence. Connacht had a yellow card early. I think it was for a foot trip, but they actually managed to kick a penalty during that time. They had the man down to go ahead 3-0, and then they were denied the first potential try of the game Blade, who would go on to get a try later. Connacht had Gloucester on their own goal line. I think the ruck was just inside the field of play. And as the ball kind of came out of the back of the ruck, it was kind of on the goal line as the Gloucester number 9 was going to go pick it up, and Blade just forced his hand on it down. So it looked like a good try initially, but the ref said he came from an offside position. So that was a penalty, and that allowed Gloucester to kind of get out of that one. Eventually, in the yellow card period, it worked pretty well for Connacht. To be fair, they didn't really suffer during it. Gloucester were starting to give away too many penalties. They had a yellow card to Glebe, and eventually Connacht got a try during that yellow card. It was the man Blade, so he wasn't to be denied the second time. There was basically just a little gap from a metre out, and he found it. So top stuff. That's what you want your number 9s to do. 10 points to 0 at that point, 7-0 during the yellow card for Connacht. But then 34 minutes, Grobler gets a try, and again it's during the yellow card. They have gone through a few phases. He is a metre out, and he just goes through. So it makes it 10-7 at halftime. And unfortunately for Connacht, and very fortunately for Gloucester, the yellow card period finishes 7-0. So interestingly that Connacht got points during the time they had a man down, 3, and then Gloucester kept it even during the yellow card. So, I mean, generally you want to be at least 7 points up during the yellow card, but not to be for Connacht during that one. Second half, they showed a stat on the screen which said the turnovers were 7 to Gloucester, Connacht 1, and that was just before 50 minutes. So that's obviously an area that Gloucester were getting some pay with. But if you look at the end, when I go over the final stats, you'll kind of see part of the reason for that. 50 minutes, 51. Atkinson, he gets his first try. Kyle Godwin's pass, it was a loopy one, was just far too loopy, and he intercepted it. It was interesting as well because Gloucester had been on the attack and Connacht were just trying to exit. Thorley had been pretty good in the build-up. They managed to get a try from it. So they went in front, 12 points to 10. Connacht kicked a penalty to put themselves back in front on the hour, 13 points to 12. And then Ludlow got a try on 66 minutes for Gloucester. Reece Emmett down the right wing and an offload. I'm not sure about the dive at the end from Ludlow. It seemed a bit unnecessary, but there was a few players doing that this week. And Gloucester back in front, 19 points to 13. And then not long later, Atkinson got his second. Interestingly, he did a proper dummy offload. Like I think it was out the back from memory. And then he just kept the ball in. So the final tackler for Connacht went for the man on the outside. And Atkinson was able to get over. So it was a top piece of work. And that made it 24 points to 13. So at that point, it was looking pretty comfortable for Gloucester, especially, with that bonus point try. However, they did get a yellow card. It was Ludlow. He got yellow carded on 76 minutes. I think that one was for a deliberate... I can't remember. Either way, there was a yellow card to Gloucester. And sure enough, Delahunt got the try about a minute later. It was from a line-out maul. And that made it 24 points to 20. Just outside that kind of penalty drop goal striking distance. So there's not long left. There's like a minute left. And from kickoff, Connacht are right down their own half. They've got to go the length of the field if they're going to have any chance. Sure enough, they do. They go like 18, 19 phases. Aki has a great run in the build-up from it. It starts from their own 22. It's Copeland pretty much on the 80-minute mark. They checked it with the TMO, but it was all good. And that made it 27 points to 24. So, fantastic stuff from Connacht at the end. Heartbreaking for Gloucester. So, was just one of those finishes. I'm so glad I picked that game to watch. It was just crazy. In terms of the stats, Connacht had 65% possession and 70% territory over the course of the game. So, but you look at the run meters, it was 409 to 321, so not as lopsided. Tackling percentages, Gloucester were at 90%, and Connacht 88, so very good from both sides. But look at the number of tackles. Connacht 123, Gloucester 254 tackles. More than 100 tackles more. That is crazy stuff. Penalties conceded was 7 to Connacht, 13 to Gloucester, so I guess that's on the back of defending for so much. But a key point, in a game that close, the goal kicking for Connacht was 100%, whereas Gloucester was at 50%. On another day, they might have been able to get it done with the kicks, 4 tries to 3, but the 3-try team gets the win. So you got to get them goal kicks. Gloucester get 2 bonus points from that one. I haven't looked at the maths, so it's possible they're still alive, but I wouldn't have thought so. You pretty much, once you're at 3 losses, you're kind of dead and buried. But other teams had losses as well, so I'll have to at some point have a look once the final 2 games this week are done and see kind of where all the teams are at and what they need to do mathematically to survive. But yeah, Connacht, what a win. What a win. The next one, Montpellier and Toulouse. Again, I've seen the highlights. It seemed like a pretty crazy game. I should mention for the previous game that Connacht will play Toulouse at home and Gloucester will host Montpellier. So these teams are all going to be playing each other. But it seemed like Montpellier all the early ball from what I saw, but they couldn't get any points. They missed a penalty and they just had all the play but no points. And then Toulouse, when they finally got a try in Tamak, seemingly from nowhere, loose play, and they got a try, made it 7-0. Montpellier did hit back through Drago on 20 minutes. That one was a bit of bobbly ball. Nandolo had a good run in the build-up to make it 7 apiece. Montpellier kicked a penalty, went in front, 10 points to 7. Another penalty made it 13-7, so they were doing okay. But then 33 minutes, Hussein, he's cleaning up a ball that's just being kicked through near his own goal line, and he just slips over. So his foot goes into touch. So that gives Toulouse a chance, and they take it. They get a try through Arnold about a minute later. It's a quick line-out throw, and Arnold just goes over. So quick thinking from Toulouse. Hussein, unfortunate with his footing, and he probably, as the commentator said, should have just kind of thrown the ball away so they couldn't take a quick one. But yeah, Toulouse took it quickly, and sure enough, Arnold went over. So it was 14 points to 13 to Toulouse at half-time. 48 minutes. Bismarck Duplessis throws an intercept pass, and Rory Arnold is the guy who catches it. It is the slowest intercept you will ever see. He just kind of half strolls over the line, but he is a huge man, and I forget who the defender was, but he wasn't interested in tackling him. He definitely could have caught him. Whether he would have been able to stop him short of the line, I'm not sure, but slowest intercept ever, 21 points to 13. Nandolo did get a try on the hour mark. He managed to just kind of get it on the line. He was his second run in the build-up. So he ran, he got tackled. I think it was Colby who tackled him, and they recycled the ball. And then on his second run, they couldn't quite stop him. He got the ball just down on the line. The conversion at the post, it's 18 points to 21. Ramos misses a couple of penalties, one off the post. And then right at the death, Toulouse get a bonus point try through Towson. Gatun run in the build-up. So it finishes 26 points to 18. So Toulouse are looking top dogs. They still haven't automatically qualified yet, but they're all but through. Final stats, Montpellier more possession, 53% more territories, 56, but again, it's marginal. Run meters, Toulouse actually edged at 378 to 344. Tackling percentage is kind of what let Montpellier down 81%, but then Toulouse went a whole lot better with 84. Nandolo had 6 defenders beaten and 7 offloads, so that guy is always busy. Cruz for Toulouse had 16 out of 16 tackles. So the lead changed twice. Montpellier perhaps a victim of their own mistakes at times. But for Toulouse, it's just another bonus point win. It's an away win, a bonus point win, so they can't ask for much more than that, especially seeing as they were under pressure at times. Montpellier, as I said, go to Gloucester, and Toulouse go to Connacht to try and secure that final spot through. So it's a competitive pool, that one. Very, very interesting. The next game, when I also watched, Saracens against Munster. It was another real arm wrestle, kind of similar to last week. Neither team could really get on top, but Saracens were kind of forcing it through towards the edge of the game, and you can see that end of the game by the times which they scored tries. Unfortunately, there was no Peter O'Mahony for this one. He was initially named in the squad, but must have pulled out through an injury because he was on the sidelines watching the game, which was pretty unfortunate. Saracens went in front first. Billy V went close. They managed to win a penalty, made it 3-0. And then on about, I think it was 10 minutes, Tyke Byrne went off injured. It looked pretty sore, so it got that much worse for Munster, seeing as that kind of impact that he provides. 18 minutes, there was some big Munster maul defence to keep Saracens out as they were applying pressure early. 24 minutes, Munster were held up, and Ryan went off, which was again unfortunate, but they had penalty advantage. They took the 3 and made it 3 apiece. 31 minutes, Saracens missed a penalty, and then 35 minutes, Saracens kicked it dead. So it was 3-3 at half time. It was very, very close, very much a battle of two defences kind of just, strangling each other. Second half, Hanrahan got another penalty to make it 6 points to 3. That was the only time Munster would go in front, but they were in front for a wee while. That new fullback for Saracens, what's his name, Malins? He tried to run out of his own 22 at one point, kind of threw the ball into touch as he was trying to kind of offload. It wasn't a good look, but their defence managed to hold out the Munster attack. Eventually, Maitland put Earls into touch. I know they got Larkham in as the attack coach, and the commentators kept trying to talk him up, but I don't know, man. From when he was down here, that guy struggled. So you Munster fans will have to let me know if you're happy, because you guys will have seen a lot more of the Pro 14 games. I mean, I know an away trip to Saracens in last week's game with the rain like it was, there's not really a time to critique the attacking play, but I'm still kind of not sold. The commentators seem more sold than I am. I know he's a great player, but as a coach, I'm not convinced. Anyway, there was a fair bit of handbags. Eventually, Saracens were penalised. It was Farrell that got penalised because he ran in from about 10 metres away to get involved in all the handbags, and the ref didn't appreciate that. Seems like it was the Munster medic who perhaps partly instigated it, which is kind of funny. Something about, they mentioned that he called Jamie George fat or something like that. So, yeah. There was definitely tension in this game, but after the handbags, more defence from Munster. Eventually, Saracens win a penalty right in front. Farrell opts for the scrum. Saracens knock it on, but they were with advantage, so they scrum again. They win a scrum penalty. Munster get warned for all the penalties. And eventually, Billy V from the back of a scrum, which wasn't going that far forward. It seemed like Munster were applying pressure at scrum time. Billy V gets off the back, and he offloads to Maitland, who scores in the corner. Stander did really well to almost get him. He's off the back of the scrum a moment after Billy V, and he gets all the way to the wing. So to try and make a tackle on Maitland, but can't quite get it done. They missed the conversion. It's 8 points to 6. And then 71 minutes, Mako Vunipola. I had to write his full name because there's also another M Vunipola in the team. He gets the ball over the line from not very far out, and it is 15 points to 6. That is the game. Late on, Munster win a penalty. They could have kicked it. It was not an easy one, but with that margin, it would have put them at least within losing bonus point range, but not to be. They went for a, I think they went for the line out, and then Saracens got a scrum, and then Munster got a free kick from that scrum because they pushed early. They attacked and went through some phases, but eventually Saracens won a penalty at the breakdown. So, yeah, Saracens keep their hopes alive. The pressure is now on Munster with the next game is an away trip to Racing, which will be tough, but Ospreys beat them over a half. So I wouldn't say that one's an impossible mission, but it will definitely be a tough one. This game finished with 51-49, the possession that was in favour of Saracens, 56% territory. But in the second half, it was pretty much 60-40 in favour of Saracens. Run meters 383 to Munster's 171. So not able to get the ball to that much open space. You look at Saracens' defence, tackling 93%. I mean, Munster's still really good with 89. It was 88. But 93 is phenomenal. Tackles 160, Munster 181. So pretty similar. Penalties conceded 12 by Munster, 5 by Saracens. So that's a bit costly as well. Defence was the story of the day. Cruz had 23 out of 23 tackles. Thunder had 20 out of 22. They may count that one that was the scoring play for Maitland as a miss. I'm not sure, but either way, he did well to put himself in that position. So, yeah, Saracens are away to Ospreys. They'll be looking to win there. And, as I said, Munster are away to Racing. So, that pool is very, very tough. Ospreys are in the thick of it, but the other three teams are all kind of there or thereabouts. So, we'll have to see how things go. The next one, wow, 21 minutes. I better get a move on. Leinster have given Northampton a bit of a hiding. Again, I didn't watch it because I thought this was how it was probably going to go, and sure enough, that's how it went. Not that that's a reason not to watch a game, but damn, there were some moments of skill in this one. Ringrose, what is up with him and his hat-tricks? I think they said his last one earlier, a few weeks ago, was only his first one in his career. And now he's got two. The guy can't stop. He gets a couple of tries. Early, the first one's a charge down and a regather made it 7-0. Apparently, there was a bit of controversy about that one because the ref didn't play a long advantage. And then the second one was on 6 minutes. A great one-handed pass from James Lowe, 14-0. And they kick a penalty to make it 17-0. So just after 10 minutes, it's 17-0. That's not what you want when you're playing away to Leinster. But Northampton didn't give up. Bigger took a quick tap from a penalty. Proctor offloaded it back to him, and then they got a try to make it 17-7. Tuala got a yellow card for pulling back James Lowe on 21 minutes, and you don't have to give Leinster a second invitation because they immediately took a line out a maul, and Furlong got the try, 24 points to 7. And then before that first yellow card was even done, Wood got another one. There was too many penalties from Northampton. And yeah, eventually Dave Carney went down the right wing. It was all from Ross Byrne deciding not to go open side. He kind of went back the other way because he saw there was a space or at least a good matchup. And yeah, they TMO'd it, but it was all good. And it was 31 points to 7. So that was the bonus point before half-time. Though, that being said, before half-time, Slateholm did get a try. They checked for obstruction, but they deemed that Luke McGrath had run into his man rather than being deliberately blocked. So it was 31 points to 14. The ref seemed to have a busy time in this game. 31-14 at half-time. Leinster don't stop in the second half. Ross Byrne kicks it through to Lowe, and he manages to ground it after almost being held, but that's all done, and they missed the conversion, 36 points to 14. 47 minutes, Leinster get held up, but that leads to another attacking play for Leinster. One of the Northampton guys against Naravoy rips the ball out, it bobbles loose, and who's there to grab it? Ringrose, that guy, of course, got a nose for it at the moment, man. He picks it up, that's his hat-trick try. It's 43-14. Dave Carney has denied a second one because way back in the build-up after he's done a big run, they deemed that Josh van der Fleer was offside after the ball had been kind of knocked by a Leinster player's shoulder. So it was correct. So good work from the TMO to spot it. 58 minutes, Tuala gets his try for Northampton. A good tap on or bat on from Proctor in the build-up. So this game had a bit of everything. So yeah, 21 points for Northampton. And then finally, Doris gets the try for Leinster to bring up the 50 points. He basically just picked the ball up back of a ruck, saw nobody in front of me, I'm going to go for it, and sure enough, over for the try. So 50 points to 21. Leinster, congratulations, are the first team to officially be through to the knockout stages, the quarterfinals. Northampton not quite able to get that fourth try bonus point. Good on them for getting 3 tries over there. Not easy, but they still shipped 50 points. So tough night for them. Run meters 602 to 411. So exciting game. Probably should have watched it. Possession 51-49. Territory 50-50. So in that regard, it's pretty even. Tackling percentages, here's a big difference. 88% Leinster. So again, almost 90 in a game which had this many points. 159 tackles. Northampton made 140, but their percentage was 79, so the worst of all the teams this Saturday. That's kind of Super Rugby level, so that's maybe what happens when you get a former Super Rugby coach. I don't know. But when you got the likes of Lama running at your 138 run meters, 12 defenders beaten, that'll bring your tackling percentage down. Ludlam had 111 run meters for a guy playing number 8, was pretty good. He had 2 clean breaks and 5 defenders beaten, but yeah. Northampton will, in all likelihood, get wins against these 2 teams in their final 2 games next year, so they still could have a shot. But yeah, there's no disgrace in losing your 2 games to Leinster, but we'll see how things go. Last one. Oh my lord, Glasgow have lost to La Rochelle at home. This is a hell of a result. It could be fatal for their campaign. It was piddling down from what I could see. Again, I've only seen the highlights. I assumed this one wrongly was going to be relatively comfortable for Glasgow. When you look at some of the stats, you feel like it perhaps should have been a bit better. But just the one try. As I said, raining a lot. Glasgow were threatening early, down the right wing. No points. They got a maul. They still couldn't score despite a whole lot of pressure. Eventually, on 16 minutes, Brown goes over for the try. It's from a maul, and they convert it at 7-0. From what I could see in that game, they were looking proper comfortable. 19 minutes, La Rochelle, despite a gale blowing, decided to take a kick into the wind, and it gets nowhere even close. So, not quite sure what the thinking was with that. Maybe just a tester. But interestingly, because they managed to resecure the ball after that penalty, they went a few phases and eventually Favre got a try. It was from a little kick through, which is, again, in those kind of conditions, pretty impressive. They had advantage anyway, so they must have threw the dice, and it worked. Of course, they missed the conversion because of the wind. It just didn't have the legs, but it was 7 points to 5 at that point. And then 35 minutes, Bottia, who seemed to be running pretty much a straight line at the Glasgow line every time he got the ball. He got a try after the number 9 for La Rochelle had a really good run. He'd gone close himself, but then Bottia essentially just got the ball at the bottom of the ruck and kind of jumped over and got it down. So they managed to convert that one. It was 12-7, and that's how the score finished. So all the scoring in the first half, nothing in the second half. Glasgow probably should have got it done in the second half from what I have seen. Around about the hour mark, they get held up a couple of times from the look of things. There's Valles, that's right. He gets yellow carded. He was kicked the ball out the back of the scrum. Did the La Rochelle number 9. So, yeah, they had a yellow card. Man down, they were down their own end defending a lot, but Glasgow were unable to secure any points. Just before, 5 minutes left on the yellow card, Bottia got the ball and he just booted it down the other end of the field, but the wind just took it. It went dead. So another chance for Glasgow to set some play up, but not to be. So the yellow card finished scoreless. 79 minutes, Glasgow go 15 phases, and Cummings goes over for a try to even things up. It would have been in a tough spot to convert given that wind, but they look in the build-up and there is a forearm kind of fend to the throat from Matt Fagerson, and it's deemed to be a red card offence. So he is duly red carded, pretty much on full-time mark, and the try is chalked off. They did get another chance, and they stole a line out right towards the end, but were unable to get it done. La Rochelle kicked the ball out, and it is game over. Very, very tough result. I mean, this is a meaningless game for La Rochelle, essentially. They are already done. But Glasgow, with a home game against Exeter next, really needed this one to put their foots forward in terms of getting themselves up the table, but not to be. So this may be a really big result dropped. Glasgow had 54% possession, 55% territory. In the second half, it was 75 and 80. So 75% possession, 80% territory in that second half for Glasgow. So they had all the ball, but unable to get over the whitewash. Tackling percent was 89 for Glasgow, but for La Rochelle, 93. Remember, that was a familiar number from that Saracens game as well. So apparently, if you tackle at 93%, you tend to get a win. 185 tackles for La Rochelle, 131 for Glasgow. I mean, Glasgow still 89%. It's pretty bloody good, but not quite enough. Penalties conceded was 15 by La Rochelle, 6 for Glasgow. So you guys will have to tell me if maybe Glasgow had taken some of the kicks instead of going for the tries. I know the wind was there, but if they were right in front, maybe. Knock-ons, 13 by Glasgow, 6 by La Rochelle. So maybe in those conditions, the hands let them down at times as well. La Rochelle's next game is at Sale. Well, like I said, Glasgow have got a massive one then against Exeter, which probably becomes must-win, having dropped this one. So, yeah, interesting set of games. Crazy finish in that one. Very, very not lucky, or at least good work from La Rochelle to hold on for that one. Leinster, congratulations for going through. Plenty of pressure on Munster, and Saracens still in with a shout. Toulouse is still looking good. And yeah, Benetton, Lyon. Lots of lead changes. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on these games for the ones that you guys have seen. Do let me know what other stuff that I missed. Wow, 32 minutes. I really better go. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Drop us a like for 30 minutes. Come on, man. That's it's a long time if we're going for quantity above quality. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.